Complex PTSD, or CPTSD, is a condition that affects many people, often leaving them feeling overwhelmed by intense emotions and struggling to cope. Imagine a young child, hiding under their bed, trying to escape the chaos of a home where arguments never seem to end. They grow up, but the echoes of those arguments follow them, whispering cruel words in their mind, even when everything around them is calm. Have you ever found yourself reacting so intensely to a situation that even you wonder if your response is disproportionate? Do you hear a harsh inner voice that makes you question your self-worth? Or do you feel stuck in coping strategies that only seem to make things worse? If any of this resonates, know that you're not alone. Today, we'll explore CPTSD symptoms and connect them with the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that has helped many people build resilience and inner strength. Let's dive in. This discussion is meant for educational purposes. If you suspect you have CPTSD or know someone who does, it's important to seek help from a qualified mental health professional who specializes in trauma. What I share here is based on years of experience working with individuals affected by CPTSD, and while it aligns with mainstream understanding, it also includes a unique Stoic-inspired perspective. What are the key symptoms of CPTSD, and how can Stoicism offer a way through? Let's start with emotional dysregulation, one of the core features of CPTSD. Emotional dysregulation refers to struggling to assign the right type and intensity of emotion to different situations. Imagine being late for an appointment and suddenly being flooded with extreme anger or anxiety. The emotion doesn't match the situation. In CPTSD, these surges of emotion can feel overwhelming, as if your emotions have taken over. Stoicism teaches us the importance of discerning what is within our control and what is not. Emotional dysregulation might seem uncontrollable, but the Stoic practice of acknowledging these emotions without instantly reacting can be a powerful first step toward reclaiming your inner calm. Another major symptom of CPTSD is the presence of a toxic inner voice, often referred to as negative interjects or a toxified superego. This voice is relentless, constantly berating and shaming, leading to feelings of guilt, anger, and worthlessness. Here's where the Stoic idea of self-discipline of the mind becomes invaluable. Stoics like Epictetus taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In the case of CPTSD, the harsh inner critic is a judgment. It's a narrative imposed by past trauma, but it doesn't have to be your narrative. Stoicism encourages us to challenge that voice, to reframe it, and to remember that we have the power to choose how we perceive ourselves. Another characteristic of CPTSD is a chaotic life, difficulty in building meaningful connections, sustaining relationships, and finding stability. Often, those affected end up relying on coping mechanisms like substance abuse, reckless behaviors, or creating constant drama to distract themselves from inner pain. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the importance of living in alignment with one's true values and not allowing external chaos to dictate one's peace. The chaos CPTSD creates is a reaction to the deep internal turmoil. It's an attempt to cope. Stoicism offers a counterbalance, a reminder that true peace comes not from the absence of challenges but from the way we choose to respond to them. Through cultivating virtue, honesty, and integrity, we can begin to untangle the chaos and live more harmoniously. The mainstream understanding of CPTSD was first identified by Dr. Judith Herman in 1992. She described it as developing from repeated exposure to inescapable trauma, situations like prolonged domestic violence, childhood abuse, or any kind of long-term captivity. This kind of ongoing trauma leaves a person with psychological scars that are not linked to a single, identifiable event, but rather a series of wounds inflicted over time. In contrast, standard PTSD is often associated with a specific, recallable traumatic incident. Here's where the Stoic metaphor of the archer and the target may be helpful. We may not be able to change the arrows that life has fired at us, but we can focus on how we react and prepare ourselves for what comes next. For someone with CPTSD, emotions often come unannounced. They surge without a clear trigger. Stoicism, particularly as practiced by the ancient philosophers, places emphasis on understanding these emotions rather than being overwhelmed by them. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the visualization of potential challenges, can help prepare the mind. For someone with CPTSD, this might mean anticipating emotional upheaval, acknowledging its potential presence, and deciding in advance how to respond with compassion and patience rather than letting it spiral out of control. Complex PTSD also affects relationships. People often struggle to trust, fear intimacy, and find it difficult to communicate their feelings without being overwhelmed. The Stoics spoke about relationships extensively, reminding us that we must approach others with kindness and rational love, but also accept that relationships will not always bring comfort. The Stoic concept of sympathia, the idea that we are all part of a greater whole, can be particularly powerful for someone struggling with the loneliness that often accompanies CPTSD. Recognizing that your struggle is part of the human condition, that others have felt this pain, and that you are not alone, can be a source of solace and strength. It's crucial, though, not to mistake CPTSD for something it's not. Many of the symptoms overlap with other mental health conditions, particularly borderline personality disorder, BPD. Both disorders involve emotional instability, but while BPD is often about a pervasive pattern of instability in relationships, CPTSD stems from a prolonged period of trauma that the person could not escape. In both cases, Stoic practices, such as cultivating self-awareness, emotional resilience, and maintaining an internal locus of control, can be incredibly helpful in navigating the difficulties of day-to-day life. In the Stoic tradition, there's a consistent message: suffering is a part of life, but how we respond to suffering determines who we become. CPTSD might make it feel like you're constantly stuck in the past, as though you're chained to the trauma. But just as Epictetus, who himself was once a slave, spoke about freedom being an internal state, the journey towards healing CPTSD begins from within. It starts with recognizing that, while you might not be able to control what happened to you, you can control how you relate to it now. The Stoic path is not about suppressing emotions or denying them, it's about finding a way to coexist with them, to not let them dictate your life's direction. In the formal diagnosis found in ICD-11, CPTSD involves disturbances in emotional regulation, beliefs of worthlessness, and difficulty sustaining relationships. These are significant, real struggles. But perhaps one of the most liberating ideas that Stoicism brings is the concept of amor fati, to love one's fate. It doesn't mean you have to love the trauma or the pain, but it encourages embracing your story, with all its complexities, as an integral part of who you are. Stoicism invites us to take the fragments of ourselves, those chaotic, seemingly broken pieces, and forge them into something resilient and purposeful. CPTSD is a complex and deeply challenging condition, but it is not insurmountable. Stoicism provides tools that can help: emotional regulation, reframing negative thoughts, finding peace amidst chaos, and cultivating an inner strength that is not easily shaken. These practices won't erase the trauma, but they can transform the way you relate to it, making it possible to live a life of greater freedom and fulfillment. If this discussion has sparked something in you, I encourage you to explore these ideas further. There are countless free resources, courses, and communities dedicated to both understanding CPTSD and practicing Stoicism. Healing is a journey, and you don't have to take it alone. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with anyone who might benefit from hearing it, and subscribe to the channel for more content on mental health and personal growth. Your engagement helps us reach more people who could use support in their journey towards healing. Remember, this discussion is no substitute for professional help. If you or someone you love is struggling with complex trauma, please reach out to a mental health professional who can provide the guidance and support needed. Stay resilient, stay curious, and remember that no matter the weight of the past, you have the power to shape your present and your future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.